Hello, my name is Mike, and I'm here with Allie and Carissa, and we are doing a progress report for what we have done so far in our public speaking course. We're going to start with a background of each other to make sure our audience knows what our past experiences are and such. And then we're going to go into our past projects we've done this semester and what we've learned, what expectations we had for each, and what we plan to do for the future. And as I just said, we will wrap it up with how we're going to use what we learned for our next two projects and for our speeches after this class. So as a background, I am taking this public speaking course because it's required in my major, but also I need to learn more about public speaking, how to write speeches, how to use rhetoric in what I do, and make sure that I can be persuasive and get across my point in an effective way.
Okay. I took this public speaking course mainly because I just needed an elective hours for my degree. And I've had public speaking before. I took about 3 years in high school, and I already took another semester in college. But this is just another to help me improve, because you can never stop improving in public speaking.
All right, well, I took it because as a comm major, public speaking is obviously a skill you have to have. I just graduated and I never had the time to take the public speaking class, so that is why I am taking it in the summertime. My past experience is I worked in a research lab for the past 2 years, so I had some experience with getting up in front of the lab and presenting. As well as other comm classes, I took like public advocacy, international comm, all of which it required public speaking. So by taking this class, I hope to get better at it, and hopefully in the future I can use what I learned in this class to get up in front of a crowd and feel at ease.
Yeah, that's something I didn't mention was my past experience, and kind of just been a hodgepodge of presenting in marketing classes in more of a formal setting, but also in my organizations I've been in and jobs I've held, just maybe not in front of a huge group, but having to create a presentation to present to others is something I've been doing for a while. So it's about building more comfort, I feel like, in the future, and hopefully this class will help me out with that. But I guess we will move on to the projects we've done so far, starting with the podcast assignment. We will say what we've learned, what we did for it, and the troubles we had with it. And we'll open it up to question and answer for each other to find out more in depth of what was involved with the project. So, Carissa, if you want to start off, you can begin the podcast.
Sure. For the podcast, I wasn't overly worried. I basically, technology-wise, I just used my sister's MP3 player to record it. I tried using the mic on my computer, but for some reason it wasn't picking up very well. So, I chose my topic pretty easily. It was, just an informative organization thing, something I was passionate about. But otherwise, technologically, I didn't really have too many problems besides trying to figure out how to get a good recording. And once I figured that out, it wasn't that hard. So.
Well, I think that podcast was probably my favorite assignment so far. I wasn't too worried about it either, probably because no one could see me, so I felt more comfortable of, not being able to put like a face with the name, so to speak. And I did mine on the research lab. And so I was in it for 2 years, so I kind of had a pretty good take on it, so I kind of just spoke from experience. My biggest issue with it was, for some reason, with the technology, I felt like I was speaking with emotion, but for some reason when I would replay it, it sounded like I was speaking in so monotone, but after a few takes, I wasn't able to change it, so I'm not really sure if that was maybe my computer, if that was the technology I was using. I'm not really sure, but so far I would say the podcast is probably my favorite project so far.
Yeah, for me I was kind of happy with the podcast assignment because I felt like it was a good way to kind of start the course, and seeing that the course is based so much off the computer and all that, that talking without a camera and just have to worry about the difference between talking into a computer is much different than talking face to face. So that was kind of a challenge I think probably most people faced, was how do you kind of sound persuasive and sound convincing when you're just talking to a computer screen. And that was probably my biggest trouble, was figuring out how to feel your way around speaking how you want to speak and say what you want to say when you don't have any feedback or anything like that we've read about in the book and how important that stuff is, and we don't have any of that. So it was definitely a challenge, a lot more challenging than I thought it was going to be from the beginning, but I feel like I learned a lot. I think that was a good stepping stone to talking into the computer and learning more about that.
Mm-hmm. I think though when
do
you
guys
do podcasts,
think that
sorry,
go ahead. Go ahead.
I think that when you do podcasts, that you're so used to, like, you know, I guess hearing a voice live that it sounds monotone, but really it's not. I think it's hard to not sound monotone to at least yourself. I think you have to have someone else hear it. So.
It's true. And definitely with the feedback, that's a good idea, Mike. Like, that's a very good point. If you can't read what the audience or even like what the listener is thinking when you're speaking, it's hard to change up the direction you're going in and like the tone of voice you're using. So I think that's a good point.
Yeah, I think it kind of prove that it is true. You're your own worst critic when it comes to that stuff. And you listen back and you're like, oh man, I sound stupid, plain, and non-convincing. But in reality, you probably sound absolutely normal without even realizing it. But definitely a challenge.
Yeah. I think I like
Do you
how
guys think that... Go ahead.
I think I like how the whole class has been, because it's an online class, geared to online, you know, media talking and that sort of thing, especially with that textbook we have, the visual presentations or the virtual presentations one. I think it's just interesting how they incorporated all that into the online class, because I'm pretty sure they don't use that in the real semester. So.
Mm-hmm. And definitely with like the assignment before where we had to critique actual podcasts, I think that helped me in creating my own, just because I don't think I've actually ever tried to critique a podcast I've heard. I've never really thought about it, and I just kind of like passively listen to the podcast, whereas if I'm knowing what I should be critiquing, I know what to incorporate into my own. So I think that was definitely like a valuable assignment to critique like actual podcasts before we create our own.
Yeah, and we kind of mentioned the expectations we had for the course. Carissa was saying that, I mean, I don't know what you guys, I didn't feel like this course was going to be completely technological. I mean, I was thinking about the traditional public speaking course and how, you know, we'd be more concentrated on writing speeches and stuff, but this course is so concentrated on the technology, which kind of opened my eyes to it. I didn't know technology was so important in all these interview techniques and stuff like that. So I actually do think we've gotten a lot of value out of just kind of messing with it and testing it and seeing yourself on the webcam and stuff like that. It's a lot harder than you would think. That's my expectation that was kind of squashed from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then we had our next project, which was the interview, which I think all of us experienced, had our own little hardships with that. I guess we had to write the personal statement, which is never easy, talking about yourself in a way that you're supposed to be selling yourself, but not sounding too much full of yourself. I don't know the better word, but I mean, you have to talk about your personal experiences and stuff, and, you know, it's a fine line, but, you know, write that, which we thought was challenging from the beginning, but then getting together with a group was a whole nother challenge. We finally found the time to do it and got together and thought it was going to be a little quick assignment. And even though it was about 20 minutes of recording, it took us about 2.5 hours at least to get it done because of all the technology and everything like that. So a hardship, but I think it turned out well. And I think, like I said, we learned a lot from using the webcam and those type of interview techniques and stuff. So I feel like I learned a good amount from that assignment, even though it was a pain in the butt at the end, but.
It definitely is making this assignment currently easier. So.
Yeah, it was awkward to like hold a group interview, and it's almost like you really appreciate what, like, person to person, like the comfort you have when you're standing next to the person. Like if it were an actual interview, you'd be able to read like the body language of the person you're trying to impress, so to speak. But over a computer, you don't really get that comfort level. At least for me, my comfort level went down a whole lot, not being able to sit at a desk with someone as compared to in front of a computer screen. So I thought it was a good experience because I've never done it before, but it makes me hope that I never have to do it again, even though I did learn a lot.
Yeah,
I think.
But if it happens, I feel like I'd be prepared going in.
Yeah.